Good afternoon. I'm Diane Barrett. I'm here with Patsy Thompson. It's February 22nd, 2022. A lot of twos. And welcome. We're honored that you can be here and be a part of our collection. I'm going to start by just having a conversation with you, asking you a few questions so we get to know you a little bit better.
Good.
So I'll start with, where were you born?
I was born in Troy, North Carolina, a small town of about 3,000 people.
Okay. And did you stay there, or how did you migrate, or where did you go from there?
Well, after high school, I entered nursing school.
Mm-hmm.
And after nursing school, I worked as a nurse for a couple of years and then joined the Air Force Nurse Corps. And I was on active duty at the Pentagon, and also here in California. So I was at Mather Air Force Base first.
What made you decide to be a nurse?
Well, you know, in the time that I grew up, we didn't have a lot of choices, and I really wanted to go to college, but my parents absolutely could not afford to send me. And in those days, if your parents couldn't pay to send you to college, you just didn't go. So I could go to nursing school, and that didn't cost much money. So that's why I chose nursing. And I think it was a good choice. I'm glad that that happened.
You know, I'm a registered nurse also. So it was a good choice. It's allowed me to do many things within that career. I appreciate it. I don't think I looked at it that way when I started.
We never do. We're so young.
The options are marvelous. So no complaints there.
Yeah.
And where did you train?
Charlotte Memorial Hospital in Charlotte, North Carolina was about 60 miles from my home.
How many people in your program?
We started out with 63 and we graduated, I believe, about 46.
Did you live there at the hospital?
Yes, we had a nurses' quarters. And so we all were required to live in the nurses' quarters. We could not be married.
I remember that. I trained in Chicago. I'm from Chicago, and I trained at Presbyterian St. Luke's Hospital, was called at the time. And at 6 months, it was supposed to be sort of a progressive program. People could get married. That was until 6 months you couldn't. And then after 6 months, you couldn't do it. Change your mind and say, okay, I'm going to get married at 8 months. So at 6 months, a lot of people got married.
Wow.
And then it stopped.
We had a couple that got married, but they kept it a secret.
I see.
Until they graduated.
It was interesting. They didn't have any children, and we still had, several years to go to school, but they did get married. So that was, but it gave me a lot of options. Even till today, meeting you, we could have a common language about some things.
Absolutely.
So how did you go from into the service? How long did you, after your graduation from training, did you?
It was about 2 years. I went back to my hometown while I was waiting for my military orders. It was about 6 months, and I worked in a small hospital there while I was waiting.
What drew you to the military?
I had my oldest brother was in the Navy. He was a Navy pilot and was killed in a plane crash during World War II. And in his honor, I wanted to serve.
Oh, what a nice thing. What was his name?
Fred
Thompson.
Fred Mason Thompson, yes.
Great. And did you have other siblings besides Fred?
Yes, I had 2 older brothers and 2 older sisters. I had a brother, Jimmy, and I had a sister, Audrey, who was the oldest girl, and then Betty Ann, who was 4 years older than I was. I was the baby.
Uh, are they still living?
No.
Just you. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And your parents? What kind of work did they do?
My father worked in a cotton mill. We had a cotton mill there, and our house was very close to the mill. So he would just walk up to the mill when he went to work and didn't have far to come back home.
Mm-hmm.
We had a small, what they called a mill house, 2-bedroom, 1 bath, sort of.
Wow. Amazing how we existed on 1 bathroom.
Yeah.
That's what you had. That's what you did.
We had a nice bed in the living room, but that was just for people when they were sick.
Uh-huh. And your mother, did she work outside of the house?
My mother was prone to asthma, and it was interesting. I always like to say this because nobody would ever believe it anyhow, but when she was 11 years old, one of the country doctors put her to dipping snuff for her asthma, if you can believe it.
Right.
And she was addicted to that. So she dipped her snuff, until she died.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Dental suite.
That's interesting, right?
Yeah.
And how did she acquire it? How did she acquire the snuff?
It came in little metal cans.
Really? Huh.
Yeah. Yeah. I still have her last one. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. And she tried to work, but she would get sick and she
Right.
wouldn't be able to work. So finally she gave up.
So they went into the military. Where did you first start in the military?
I can't remember the name of the base that was in South Carolina.
And then you progressed up in the ranks, sounds like.
Yes, I started out as a 2nd lieutenant, and I got promoted to 1st lieutenant, and then I was assigned in England. I was there for a couple of years, and then back to California. And then I was in a Air Force Reserve unit, and the Air Force eliminated that unit. And so I didn't really have a home, a military home. So I joined the Army National Guard, and they were happy to have me as their chief nurse. And they sent me to the Pentagon for 3 years.
Wow, that's amazing. Good for you.
Yeah.
And when you were at the Pentagon, what were your responsibilities?
I was in charge of all of the Army National Guard hospital, their nurses, and all of the hospital employees for about 14 hospitals.
Huge.
I did a lot of traveling, visiting and
Right.
that sort of thing. Yeah.
Did you have people helping you, or were you a one-woman leader?
Had one sergeant in my office that helped. Yes.
That was it?
Helped with the enlisted personnel.
What kinds of problems did you encounter in that position?
Well, nothing. Well, just the surgeon that was in charge was sometimes difficult. But, you expect that sometimes, and you just get through it.
I'm assuming the sergeant was a man.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, the sergeant was a female, the one that was helping me.
So
we're still in touch with her.
Are you? Huh.
Yeah, she's in San Antonio, Texas.
Great. Is she lesbian?
Yes.
Is she? Well, we could interview her for this project. That'd be fun, huh?
Yeah, that's a whole nother story about Pentagon.
Is it? Would you like to tell it?
If you would like.
Sure.
The Pentagon had about a 5-acre area in the center, and it was like a park. trees and grass and sidewalks and that. And people would go there to have their lunch. They would take their lunch there. And so I wanted to talk to one of these two women that were together, the female sergeant in my office, and her girlfriend, who was a major. And I thought, well, the one I should talk to probably would be the major. So I called her and asked her if we could go running, because I knew it would be private if we could get outside and run and I could talk with her. And she said, well, she had some stuff going on in the office today, but if I wanted to just walk a little bit in the center, that would be fine. So we did that. And I said, well, I just, want to know if you and Wendy are lesbians. And she
Got right to it. Good for you.
yeah, I just,
Why not, right?
yeah, just came right out. And she was shocked. And she said, oh, we just worked together in an office at one time. She kind of passed that off. And I said, oh, okay.
I just wondered, right?
Yeah. So I called, Barb was on her way. That was a Friday. She was coming to visit in Washington from California. And so when she got there, I told her, I said, I think I stuck my foot in my mouth and I don't know, I could be kicked out if I'm reported. And so we worried till, the next morning, we got a call from these two women and they wanted to have lunch with us. And so we got to have lunch with them and of course found out that they really were a couple. So we had good friends there.
That was good.
Mm-hmm.
You started it. Makes you sort of nervous though.
Yeah, you never know. Yeah, that was probably not smart on my part, but I did it.
So working in the Pentagon was really impressive. You must, you earned that, I'm sure.
Yeah, it wasn't uncommon to be walking through the halls and have somebody say, oh, I've never seen a female colonel before.
Really? Here I am.
Now there are lots of us.
That's good. But because of you started it.
So,
Really? So did your sexuality become difficult at any time in your career?
Well, I held everything in as to who I was, and I just did my job because I think that's the most important thing. You're there to do the job.
Right.
And I did my job. I had lesbian friends, but it was always off base. Nobody on base knew about, So I had a few friends. I played basketball when I was at Mather, and a lot of the teams that we played were local, and they would invite me to parties and stuff. So I made a lot of friends in Sacramento that way.
Good.
Yeah.
And how about at the Pentagon? Did you make a lot of friends there also?
No. It was
really quiet.
Yeah, it was very difficult to make friends there. That's why I was so thrilled to have the two women that I just talked about as friends. Yeah. So,
do you think today that would be different?
Yes, I do.
Would be.
I really think it would be
That's
different.
good.
Yeah.
Really good.
Yeah, there are a lot of people standing on shoulders like me, like mine, that were there early on. Yeah, it was.
You have contact with people that work there now? Have you maintained a?
I don't know anybody right now that works there, and I've thought about that. The chief nurse that took my job, I never heard from her. So I've never heard from any of them. So
really?
Yeah, interesting.
Interesting. It is. So when did you stop working there? When do you retire? Is that what happens?
94.
And were you ready to retire, or was that
Yes, I was ready.
Were you more than ready, right?
Yeah, I was ready.
And talk about how you met Barb.
Well, I had a 24-year relationship, and that had broke. She had decided that she wanted to be with someone else.
Oh,
Fell in love
it's
with
painful.
one of her co-workers.
Uh-huh.
And so I went for therapy. I was in therapy for like 18 months.
Mhm.
And after that, I felt like I was ready to meet some people. And I actually got invited to a house party
Mhm.
of lesbians.
Mhm.
And I thought, well, I really don't want to go, but I think I better. So I did. I accepted and I drove there, and I couldn't find the street. And I thought, oh, well, at least I tried. And then
Right, I can go home now. I tried.
and then I saw the street.
Uh-oh.
So I did go to that party, and I saw two women talking, and one of them I knew who was really, really bad. She had tried to break me and my girlfriend up. She would whisper and invite her to come over for a meal, and she'd say, oh, well, let me talk to Pat. No, 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 just want you,
Really?
So I knew she was bad news. So I walked up to the two of them, and she knew who I was. So she just turned around and walked away.
Oh,
And
just
here I was standing there facing Barbara.
Mhm.
And I thought, and I introduced myself, and we talked for a little while, and I liked her, and I invited her over for breakfast and to go running. And so come the morning, she called me and said that she had an allergy attack from cats in somebody's house. And so she probably wouldn't make it for breakfast. And I said, okay, that's fine. Thank you for calling. Yeah. So then she did come anyhow, and we did go running. But first she said she didn't want to run with me because she didn't like to run with anybody. And I said, okay, that's fine.
She thought you'd be faster than she was.
I said, and so we did start running, and we both jogged. We didn't run, just hell bent for election, but we did, we ran about the same pace. So that worked out pretty good.
Mm-hmm. You knew you weren't supposed to run faster.
Only if I'm getting away from something or somebody.
Right, that's right. But in that circumstance.
Yeah.
So then when did you officially start dating after that?
Right away.
Mm-hmm.
Right away. Yeah.
Good.
And we've been running together ever since.
I know, forever.
Yeah. 38 years.
That's why my background is the Golden Gate Bridge, because on my 50th birthday, I wanted to run across it. And so Marge, and I did that. So it's a good memory for me. So we put it as a background.
How did you run across the bridge with all the traffic?
There's a walkway. Yeah, it's significant.
Wow. Okay.
We were on the Vincent Thomas Bridge recently, not on it, but next to it. And there's no pathway there. I thought, well, I couldn't have run across this thing. So it's a good memory. So we ran back and forth. It's not that long, actually. So
yeah, that was
memory.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I'd like to go back to when you said you had a relationship of 24 years and then it broke up. If you think of this project as giving advice to people as how they handle these things, and ending relationships is one of the things we do handle, what do you think was the main, was it going to therapy that helped you the most, or was it time?
I think both.
Mm-hmm.
I thought the therapy was helpful, and time certainly did help. Yes, it was.
Did you go to a lesbian therapist or?
No. No,
Uh-huh.
just
Did you go to a woman?
a female, yes.
Yeah.
A specialist psychiatrist, so I could get some medication.
Mhm.
And I took the medication, and the walls were running into me.
I was going to say you fell asleep or something. Yeah. Uh-huh.
You can't do this. I'll have to get better on my own.
Right, right.
But I think the time that I was in the military, that I when I had to hold who I was inside,
Really hard.
it was, and I think it was kind of a form of PTSD. Barb really did help me a lot with that. She
Great.
she encouraged me to talk about it,
Mhm.
a lot.
Right.
So she was very good for me.
That is good. She knew that she was safe.
Yeah.
Right. That's an important thing. Conversation is good.
Yes,
But
absolutely.
right. So then going on to, when did you first feel that you might be a lesbian or you were different? How old were you then?
When I was a junior in nursing school, one of the upperclassmen came into our room, and she just grabbed me and kissed me. And I did not resist. I liked it. And that was the first time that anything like that had happened to me.
Huh?
And it was a lot of food for thought at that point.
Surprised.
Why did I not resist? Why did I enjoy that? Who am I? That
surprised.
sort of thing. Yeah.
So it became self-searching after that.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Yes.
Then what happened to her? Did she go on to graduate with you? And
no, actually, she didn't. I visited her once or twice, and she had an apartment off campus, and she actually then was going to Duke to finish her education. She specialized in pediatric nursing.
Imagine what she thought about before she did that.
Yeah, but I
planned that.
After that, I didn't see her, so yeah.
Interesting.
So I just hope she did okay. I hope she was happy.
So now I see you have your Surviving in Silence behind you there.
Yes.
Yeah, everywhere, right? It's part of you.
Yeah.
Right. So when did you tell us how that came about? That you were asked to investigate Greta Kammermeyer?
I was working. My military reserve was with the 175th Medical Brigade, and they called me in and asked if I would be willing to go to Washington State for, it's like a tribunal, I guess, but I would be in charge of a board that would interview Marguerite Kammermeyer, Colonel Kammermeyer. And I said, I don't know. I have to think about that.
Did you feel it was a choice?
They encouraged me. They needed somebody to go, and they said I was the best person to do it. And you don't say no to your general, and so I went. But meanwhile, they sent me a big box of material, and that's when I really knew who it was. Because when they first asked me to go, they didn't tell me who it was for.
I see.
I said, well, Colonel Kammermeyer's there. She's their state chief nurse. She must not be there for some reason if they want me to come up. So I thought, well, I'll go up. And then I got the box of large amounts of paperwork.
Really?
And then I realized what it was.
Uh-huh.
And so I went, and I was there. I didn't want to be there, but I did
Right.
it. And
You think they might have realized that you were a lesbian?
she did not know I was lesbian.
No. Do you think that the people asking you might have thought that you were?
No,
No.
none of them asked me that.
Uh-huh.
They did not know.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and she didn't know.
Right.
But I was able to say some things, and that would help her to get reinstated.
Uh-huh.
And I didn't know it at the time, but at least I had said I spoke from the heart,
Right.
and it just happened to be something that was helpful for her.
Mhm.
When it came to the Ninth Circuit Court, they were impressed with what I had said about her.
What did you talk about, her character or
Yes, and
achievements, that kind of thing?
some of the ways some of her nurses that worked for her felt, and they were that, like, they thought she was the best supervisor they had had ever in the military, and that sort of
Right.
thing. Yeah. So
What an overwhelming task.
yes,
Huh.
and so I was pleased when she was reinstated and got to serve 3 more years and retire, with honor.
Uh-huh. You were a big part of that.
Yeah.
At what
Yeah.
point did you get to talk to her directly?
When her film came out, I was
I see.
in LA working, and Barb called and said, "You have to come." So at the end of the
Jesus.
day, I grabbed a cab and went to the airport and flew up, and caught another cab cross country during peak traffic time. And I finally got to where they were, and all the champagne was gone. They had drank every bit of my champagne.
I bet. That's a lot of celebrating.
Yeah, I got to see her film, and she was happy that I was there. But when I first saw her, she gave me a big hug, and so we've been friends ever since.
That's great.
Barb had, of course, talked with her, and she knew. That's how she found out that I was a lesbian.
Oh, really? Great.
She was speaking in Davis, which is, I don't know, 20 to 30 miles from our home, and or from Sacramento. And Barb showed her a card with both our names on it, and that's how she knew that we were lesbians also. And she
I'm really impressed that you were able to maintain your relationship during this whole time. Really, we'll talk about it later when we do your couples interview, but the strength of your relationship and your commitment to it, both of you, it's huge, really. How long were you in the military?
37 and a half years.
Wow. Long commitment. Do you miss it?
No.
No. You were
No.
glad to leave. You were ready to leave.
I was. I'm glad I did it.
Right.
But I was glad to retire.
Mm-hmm. I understand that. I've done a lot of things, but I'm glad to do something else now. So
yeah, I like what you're doing.
Oh, thank you. I do too. I mean, all these great women.
Yeah, it's a wonderful thing for our people.
Thank you. And I appreciate the referrals that you've given me, you and Barb.
Yeah, Barb is good at doing that. Yeah,
Yeah, she's out there. So now what are you doing in your retirement? I know you're an activist.
Well, one of the things I've done is to visit veterans who are in hospice care and talk with them, give them a flag, and that sort of thing. And that was very rewarding for me. And other than that, Barb and I became activists, and we, of course, were, she did it I was just tagged along, I was so happy to be a part of it.
Yes,
Yeah. So,
a lot to it.
yeah. And
And it's needed.
yes.
You don't have to, wonder what you're going to support. It's
Yeah.
out there.
And we've, for a long time, there was a church in the area that did fed homeless people once every 2 weeks or once a month. I can't remember, but we used to go help them. It was here in the neighborhood, so we would walk over there and help serve food, help prepare it, and help serve it to the homeless. And we would have 100 to 130 or 40 people each time.
Really, it's a lot of people.
Yeah. So we enjoyed doing that.
Mhm.
Like that was an important thing to do in our community.
Do you have any more questions you'd like to ask me about myself or the Marge or the collection? Or
I know that, I think I understand from listening to Barb, what will happen next.
if you think that this is a legacy project, a young woman or a young man even could go in and take a look at it and be inspired. I'm inspired. Are there any other homosexuals in your family that you know of?
Yes, I have one nephew and one cousin, male, both male. I'm so happy that you are doing this.
Well, thank you.
Yes.
We're happy too. And it's fun to learn something when you're older, to just say, okay, let's try to learn it. And we're doing it. So if you knew, in closing, my final question is, if your life was going to end soon, what would you like to be remembered for?
For always loving my family and being true to myself. I loved our family reunions when I was growing up, but my siblings didn't.
Really? How come?
I don't know.
So you enjoyed it, right?
Right. I wanted to meet family that I didn't know, and I always did. There were always people there I hadn't met, but the others really didn't even care to go.
I'm glad you liked it. Where were they held?
In a church. Most of the churches in the area, the rural churches, would have a meeting room or a big, or a separate building sometimes.
So if there are no other questions, we'll close. And I want to thank you and tell you that I'm honored, and we are honored to have you part of the collection. You'll be an inspiration. You are an inspiration. You've already done that.
I've enjoyed every minute, and I appreciate being part of this.
Yes, thank you. Me too. That's two of us.